Hey family, it's Dr. MaritzaJohnson and happy Wine Therapy Wednesday. This episode is titled Grief, Life After Loss. Now grief is something that we all have to encounter in our lives. We may grieve a job that we lost, a relationship that ended, a parent or a child that may have passed away. Grief is just a part of life. But it's not always easy, and everyone's process of grief is not always the same. So today I have a special guest with me who is going to talk about their challenges with grief and also how they overcame grief and their healing process. So I hope that you enjoy what we have to offer you today. Now before we get started, we do want to introduce the wine of today. And our wine of today is from our sponsors of this show, the William Chris Wine Company. The brand of this wine is Lost Draw, and the name of the wine is Counoise Rosé. It's 2021 Rosé. So I am excited to open this and share with my guests today. So you all get your wine glasses ready, and let's talk about it.
Please, whatever you do, don't look at her.
I'm not seeing you on the third.
Right, do I need to go for real?
No, baby, you good.
No, just sit in one spot. Well, you come over there. Sit over there.
Look forward, please. I'm 5.
High five her.
4.
Oh, he counting us down.
Oh, he said high five.
3.
So LaMonica Nolan, my sister, thank you for being on my show. I'm super excited that you're here to talk with me about grief today. Of course, we both share that in common.
Absolutely.
Losing our parents recently. So I'm excited. So before we get started, of course, I have to do our new tradition with wine therapy. We put our corkscrew from our wine of today inside our traditional box.
Okay.
And then we just get started. So thank you. All right. So let's get started.
Come on.
Me and you have a lot in common when it comes to, what we've dealt with. We are sisters, honestly, and we share many stories, we share many details of our lives with one another. We do life together, basically. And I decided to choose you for this show talking about grief because you went through so much at once. And let's just say you lost 2 things close to you in a year within months apart. And we'll get into that. But I wanted you to talk about that with me today. And my first question is because grief is, everybody takes grief different. Whatever that definition is to them, what it means to them to grieve. What is grief? So what does grief mean to you?
Honestly, it's a loss of anything near and dear to you. Because people grieve over animals. People grieve over, like you stated, loss of jobs, friendships, relationships, marriages. Grief is anything that you choose to have a personal contact with your heart, and you lose it, so you can grieve it. So grief is not just a death of a loved one, like grandma. It's grief, but grief is a broad range.
Very broad.
Very broad. So, we can grieve anything. Grieving jobs. It's been in a job 20 years. I just lost it. That's a lot, So people deal with it differently.
That's true. So what are some things? Let's jump in.
Come on.
The audience, we want to know what is some things that you grieved over in your life recently? What is something you went through?
Well, so in 2014, I lost my grandmother. And then 5 years later, I lost my dad and my marriage at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Marriage at the same time.
Marriage.
Yeah, we gotta jump into that.
Yeah.
So that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. I'm not married yet, and I had, we've ended relationships, but when you talk about a marriage, if you committed yourself to somebody and you losing at the same time you lost your dad, because how many months apart was that? That wasn't from June to
June to September, October. So that one made it 3-4 months. Apart.
So there were 2 big things that happened within just 4 months span.
Literally.
And for some people, that would have been a lot to deal with. So much to where they probably wouldn't have made it. Maybe would have had mental breakdowns. Some people, I work in mental health, so I know that sometimes people commit suicide because there's so much to take on mentally. That's a lot of pain and loss. And I always pride myself on having a support system, because if you don't have it, you know, it's kind of like you can't do that alone. Grieving, you can't do it alone. And I know when I lost my mom, my brother. I know when you were the first person I called both times. It's crazy. You the first person. It's just like you need that person that you can talk to in that moment. And y'all, you know, my friends helped me get through that. So losing those two back to back, and your grandmother, how did you grieve? What was your process like?
For my dad, it wasn't an easy get over. It's like, you know, it's like I use a term. It wasn't easy. Because my dad was my absolute go-to. As my sister stated, he was our hero. You're like, we were daddy girls. It was just two of us. And it wasn't nothing we wouldn't call our dad for. Lunch on daddy. We just get paid for it. So lunch on daddy. Come on, come. Like, nothing. Dad, I just need to talk. I just need to vent it out. Talk to my baby girl. That was us. Like, it was nothing. So, losing him, and then it was just a immediate grief. It wasn't nothing that he was sick.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't nothing that led us to him that we know soon he's getting a transition.
Right.
It was just, actually, I had just talked to my daddy that Sunday night. Monday, they told my dad was dead. So, it was a total blow. It was like a knock. When somebody just knocked you out. That was what it was. And so it was a very hard process for me to deal with it. And I had to go to my spiritual father, my daddy, you know, in heaven, and be like, hey, why you do this one? Like, I would have done anything, but why you do this one, you know? And he gave me my answer. It's about a year and a half, but he gave me my answer. He gave me my answer. And so now it makes the process way easier. Actually, I don't even grieve my dad now.
Really? No, you feel like you passed that grieving stage?
Oh, most definitely. Because it's acceptance.
That's the last stage.
It's
acceptance. So you accepted it.
It's acceptance.
Yeah. I think that's what me and you have in common when it comes to our loss. You know, my mom and my brother died.
Right.
Like, I just talked to my mom literally the night before she passed. You know, literally died in her sleep. And my brother, my mom had just talked to him literally 2 hour before everything happened.
Wow.
When he completed suicide. So it's we both have it. You know, we didn't have anything leading up to it, and that makes it hard because you know it's like I wasn't expecting this. This is unexpected.
Okay.
And that makes it a hard thing to process because it's like you're not preparing for that. So you didn't prepare for that, especially a marriage, like because you fight in a marriage. You know, you fight to keep it going.
Come on.
Recently I just had an engagement party, and the thing they said was that you choose marriage every day. It's like you fighting for it. You have to. It's work, and that's not an easy thing to lose. So, how was your husband when it came to your dad when he passed? Like, was it support there? Like, how was that? That you know, literally, how was that process? Because it's important to know because you had a divorce like 4 months later. So, how was that when you had to grieve your dad and you grieving? I always say, you know, you grieving a relationship too because you may know which direction it's headed in. At some point, you grieving it all at the same time. And it's just a lot on you. So how was that?
Well, my marriage was already in a toxic state, right? And so, at the time that my daddy transitioned, and this is no badging, you know, I'm not badding, you know, speaking ill of him, my husband, but to give the honest truth about it, he was definitely no moral support, none. You know, this was the answer, none. Like days I would just get up on the side of the bed in tears.
Yeah,
it wasn't a pat on the back. I actually one day because his mom passed in 2015, right behind my grandma. And you know, I was there. You know, there for a period. Like I don't care what we went through. Like that, you lost your mom. Like I got you. You know? But for him, it was not the same. It was, you know. Actually, he kind of told me, he was like, you know, and I don't think he meant it in an ill way, but I guess he didn't know what to say. And he told me, he was like, I just lost my mom. It's gonna be okay. And to me, I was like, that's not what you tell a person that's grieving, you know. But I guess he didn't know what the words.
Yeah, sometimes they don't.
But he wasn't a moral support. I dealt with it alone. I literally did. And I was in a marriage, but I dealt with it. My dad grieving with him alone. Literally, I did. It was, yeah. He didn't even show up to the funeral.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing.
It's a whole other thing. So.
Yeah, so that's a lot.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You know, and this is like when you are married to someone, I assume like they've been married. But you expect them, your expectations
Absolutely.
to them is you need to be here for anything to come to that. You know, because you got that support you need
I
in
don't
that. Because
care
grieving
what's
is hard.
going on. You
So you
understand?
need somebody
Yes,
there
ma'am.
to help you carry through,
Absolutely.
to hold your arm, to lift you up, to give you encouraging words, to just hold your hand when I want to cry. That's it. Look, if you just got to hold my hand and rub my back. And it's hard to hear that you had to go through both of those at the same time. And it's just like, that's some hard grief.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know you said that with your dad, you talked to your spiritual father, you know. So what did you do when it came to grieving your marriage? How was that process? Because those are two different things. So it's like I would assume you would grieve it differently?
I did.
Or how did that happen?
It was two deaths to me.
Okay.
It was two deaths to me.
Explain it.
It was two deaths to me. Why? Because there's two things I went and one coming back.
That's how you looked at it.
Absolutely. I definitely did. It wasn't coming back to me, period. And because God confirmed it for me. Like my dad gone. And crazy and ironic thing, he died on his birthday. So he did it on purpose.
I mean, your dad died on your husband's birthday?
Yes, ma'am.
Birthday?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So when I looked at it in that light, he was already counseling me. He was already counseling. I'm like, man, God, you just gonna snatch both of them?
Yeah.
But when I thought about it, I was like, you know, I pretty much was in a state of being alone the whole time in my marriage. And so I dealt with them hand in hand. I cried days, nights.
Yeah.
I screamed. I went through a state of straight up depression. You hear me?
That's hard.
It was bad. It was to the point where one day, excuse me, to the point of one day, I sent a message out to my pastor, my sister, my mom, and I was like, look, if y'all don't do nothing else, pray for me right in this now. I'm talking about stop what you're doing.
Yeah.
And pray for me. Because it was that bad. My mental was tired.
Mm-hmm.
It was tired. And when you don't deal with that, it becomes a self-sabotaging thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you allow it to consume your every thought, your every being. I'm talking about if I would go to church, if I would be around family, I'm always in this state. I masked it, but in my mind, I'm rolling.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm rolling. I'm laughing at
It's a
you,
mental fight.
but my thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gone. So it's a mental fight. And so dealing with my marriage, it was the same way I dealt with my dad. Like I had to go to God about the decisions, because I'm like, it's a reason why you're doing this. You know what I'm saying? And I just want to know why.
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me my answers. He did. He gave me my answers. I flat for that.
But you said it was like a year and a half? How long ago?
It was a year and a half for my dad.
Okay.
And marriage is immediately.
But you said you already knew something.
I already knew it. Didn't have no business being in it. So it didn't take no time. He actually he was been waiting on me to move out of it. But he knew I wasn't gonna move on my own. So he had to make something shape. I'm gonna turn you up like you do your children.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you. Because I told you to move and you're not moving. So I'm gonna get you. Because you're gonna have to move. I can't elevate you. But I need you to move so I can elevate you. You won't do it on your own, so I'm gonna get you. And that's how I looked at it. So with him, the marriage, immediately. People will always say, you don't miss him? No. If he changed when he come back? No. I pray for him. I want him to be the best person he can be. He'll be a great husband to somebody else. He just won't be for me. He wants for me. And I'm quite okay with it. Fine. I wish him my best in the world.
You sound so strong now.
What?
You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess listening to you now with people, I'm like, I can't, you wouldn't believe she would have went through that. Like, that's a lot at once.
Okay.
But hearing you talk today, it's like, you wouldn't imagine. So that's why I wanted to know, like, because some people are going through this now today.
Uh-huh.
And what some of the challenges you faced while you were grieving? Like, what was the hardest moments of your time? I know you said you felt like you were depressed, you you know, you had a mental, it's like a mental fight you
Let
dealing
me tell
with,
you,
you know, masking.
when you're going through grief, don't ever be alone. Don't ever. That's my greatest,
That's true.
greatest,
I
greatest,
agree with that.
and I'm talking about greatest advice that I can give you.
Mm-hmm.
Never, 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 and I'm talking about if you can control your company, don't deal with grief alone.
Were you by yourself sometimes?
All the time. I went through both of it by myself.
Was that what I'm saying was, I guess my question is, was that a choice? Because sometimes we want to isolate ourselves because we don't want to be around people because we're in that depressed mode. Like, I'm sad, I don't want to be around nobody. Or things like
Some
that.
of it was a choice and some of it wasn't. I was crying out for help. Nobody saw it. Literally. I'm serious.
Okay, you had to explain it. So in what way? It's like you were crying out for help.
That's why you have to pay attention to your close. They say pay attention to your strong friends. Pay close attention to them.
Yeah.
Because you'll know when they're off. And I would go around my friends a lot of time. Sometimes I'm reserved and I can just read the room. I'm just quiet to myself, you know. Or sometimes I'm bubbly and I'm happy. But in this particular stage, I notice I'm always sitting, like I'm laughing and I'm cordial. Mm-hmm. But if you know me, you know that's off to me. It should be off to you. But if nobody ever pay attention to it, they would assume my money just chilling, she just cooling.
Yeah, you know, she kind of, she quiet today. It's all right, though. No, it's not all right.
It's not okay.
One thing I can say when it comes to losing someone and grieving, and when you lose, even like at the beginning moments of losing something, you always have like everybody come over and they give them encouraging words in the beginning. And I remember when your dad passed, a lot of the friends came over like immediately. But we can't be there every single day. So you lose that support in that moment. And after that, that's when you started to be alone. Like
process it. Mm-hmm. My cousin, he spoke about that. Actually, it's quite strange you said that. But my cousin spoke about that at my dad's funeral. And he was like, look, when this is over, all the phone calls stop, all the letters stop, all the checking up on you stop. Everything stops. And I didn't understand that in his message. But I'm come out, as I dealt with my dad's grief, I noticed it. I was like, man. Mm-hmm. But it's a process. And it's a process. What you have to learn to do is pray your way through. Encourage yourself through. So now, when I think about my dad, I don't think about he gone. I think about our happy times. Like, man, my dad would have been tripping about that.
The good times.
Like, man, the music, I sing to myself. Because I'm like, man, my dad would have been singing that thing.
Yeah,
like that. You know,
the good stuff.
Like,
I don't think about the
sadness.
Yeah.
Because why? That's the devil's playground. He wants you to be miserable. He wants you to be sad. He wants you to be depressed. No, we're not going to do that. Why? It doesn't bring them back. It just gives you misery.
Yeah, literally.
It gives you misery. So why? You know? So no, I just think of the happy moments and I go forward. Like, my marriage wasn't all bad. I had great moments with Jayon. You know? So that's why it's like, I know you wasn't for me. And I know I was out of God's will in order to marry you. So it's okay for me to say, I'm cool with us not being together. Co-parent, great. Mm-hmm. You found somebody else? How you doing, sweetie? Y'all all right? Good job, baby. I go on. I literally do this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't bother me. Mm-hmm. I don't be bitter. We ain't arguing. I ain't cussing you out. I don't have that energy to give. For what? What does it prosper to me to give you that? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Live your life. Live your best life. Be happy. I pray you find happiness in whoever with whoever. Why? Because I know you'll be a great dad to my Jacob. Mm-hmm. You'll be greater for him. And he'll be a great, you can be a great role model for him. That's all that matters to me.
Yeah.
Us being together, we can flush that down the toilet. On into the drain. Mm-hmm. And I'm content.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on what you were saying about thinking about the good times with your dad. Yeah. You know, and I can say when my brother passed away, I think people kind of, maybe thought it was a little weird because I didn't do a lot of, I don't know, my grieving process was totally different because I was like, nobody knew what they were dealing with. Like, they were dealing with mental depression. Yeah. They were dealing with a lot that nobody saw. And I'm just like, they're not struggling no more. Y'all, like, they free. You know, that's how I feel like y'all free. So that allowed me to accept it easier and be like, they better off. They better than me right now. They not hearing this word dealing with this, but I knew that they weren't struggling more. They were free from every mental battle they had to face.
Right.
So that made, that's why I'm like, I think about that, not well, she ain't here for this, he ain't here for this. You know, they're just like, they're not struggling.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I believe in thinking of the happy.
That's
happy
right.
moment. I believe
You
in
have to. Let me tell you. And preparation, you can never prepare for death. I watched my grandma leave her. She actually turned to me and took her last breath and looked at me in my eyes. I wasn't prepared for that, and I have been watching her be sick for years. But you think you prepare for that moment? You never prepare. So, I mean, it is what it is. Yeah. My daddy was literally, when I think about it and I go back, I was like, my daddy was literally trying to prepare me and my sister for his time. He knew he was going to go. He did. When I think about it, he had me to come over and fill out insurance papers, trying to increase his policy. And we used to do this memorial barbecue contest over my cousin's house. And this was the third year they did it. My dad won both years. First 2 years he won. Best chicken, best sauce, overall.
Everything.
Champ, baby, what can grill or reel down? You understand? I'm telling you. But, yes, ma'am. He was good.
I saw his trophies.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I saw his trophies.
It's real. But the last time, because he died Memorial Day, it was May, his birthday, May 16th. He died right after in June. Okay, birthday, May 16th, June 3rd. That wasn't even a month out, right? But if you know my dad's like me. Bubbly, life of the party when you go, jokes, turning up, getting the children messed, like,
yeah.
He's just that person. He the one you won't invite. You would want to invite to the party. You look for him. I know you ain't put mine. You know. And so this particular event, me and my sister, because we kind of sat down and talked about it after the fact, and he was like, "Daddy wasn't himself," and we, you know, and you know, just different things he was doing that was kind of leading up to it. We didn't know he was as sick as he was. He was private in his illness. He needed houses, different things. And he didn't want to do all that. So when I thought about it, I was like, my daddy is good. Because he didn't want to go through being sickly and having to be taken care of. He has always been independent. So him feeling like his daughters have to take care of him being down, he wasn't going to work. No, it wasn't for him. So I think his transitioning was better off. Like, I don't have to worry about the sickness. I don't have to worry about the heart, the kidney.
It keeps you more at peace.
It keeps you more at peace.
Yeah.
But I like to tell people all the time, when you in grieving, deal with it.
Yeah. Most people suppress it.
They suppress it, and that's where suicide comes from. That's where mental illnesses develop. Deal with it. If you mad, sound mad.
You know, just say it. It's okay to say I'm mad. This happened.
Scream
That's
daily.
a part of
It's
the
a part of
steps.
healing. Yes,
The Kubler-Ross. I know I'm saying that first name wrong right now because I can't get my words out. But anger is a part of the steps.
Yes,
though.
it is.
You know, you can be angry.
You
can bargain. You ask for them to come back. You be in denial like it didn't happen. You know, you got all that. And acceptance is the last one, and you can tell when somebody finally accepted it because there is so much peace. And, you know, they're not dealing with so much turmoil as you would think mentally. You know, so now I can tell you accepted it. You got your peace. See your head. Well, I've seen you through the process. So
Come on.
But just, you know, and you got a story to tell.
Ooh.
And we got our viewers here today, and they're watching. And I always want the guests to leave them with something if they are dealing with grief right now. Or just dealing with just a loss of something, a relationship. Man, you talk about your marriage. Like, that's something hard to go through. You do life with somebody and we're going through a divorce now. So what would be your advice to give them?
Honestly, my advice to grieve, as I stated, deal with it. Never suppress it. Never go through it alone. Reach out. Find you a faithful friend that you can trust. And always tell them how you feel and why you upset. Why you in this moment of missing whomever or missing whatever that's causing you the grief. And then once you come out of that part, because grief is also, it gives victimization. You know what I'm saying? And when we go into that, it's like I'm the victim because I lost. We got to transition out of that mode. It's okay to get there then. We got to come out of there.
Can't dwell in it.
We can't stay in it. And so the best advice is to transition out of it. Like, deal with your grief.
Yeah.
Counseling, therapy, pastors, friends, family. Always surround yourself with people who can help you deal with your emotional turmoil of grief. Losing a job, a parent, a pet, whatever it is, a relationship, a marriage, whomever, a friendship. Hey, this is bothering me right now. I need to call somebody. Or can I just come over to the night and just watch a movie with you?
Yeah.
You know, get around people. And don't ever sit alone in grief. Never. Because it gets you to your mental heavy. Mm-hmm. And it'll take you out if you allow it. So definitely my best advice is to deal with it however you choose. For me, I wrote.
Mm-hmm. You did.
I was never a writer. You know that, baby, in school. This was my writer. Y'all got to know.
I'm tickled.
This was my writer. No, ma'am. No, I wasn't writing no page. Mm-hmm. I tell her, look, this is the page. I
just need a little help.
I wasn't writing. But when God took me through my grieving process, I had to write a book.
Mm-hmm.
I had to write a book.
A good book.
Ooh. I posed some emotions.
You did a lot. You did a lot with that book. I mean, that book is going to change people's lives. Like, I enjoy every moment of reading it. And some of the stuff, we've been friends for years, and I didn't even know most of it in there. What's the name of the book?
The Surrendering.
The Surrendering.
By author LaMonica Noble.
Author? No. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah.
But it was so good. I'm like, I didn't even know my friend went through half of these. And we talked
it's
all
more.
The time,
Part 2 coming.
every day.
Part 2
and I
coming.
never knew that.
Oh, yeah, it's more. Part 2 coming.
You just never know what people go through, and then how your testimony can change, help change someone else, help them get through it. And I feel like when you did your part of accepting and then actually doing I call it therapeutic healing when you write. I feel like it's so therapeutic when you write, and you did that. So The Surrendering is a book that we all need to pick up.
Yes, ma'am. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
What is that? No pun intended. What is it when they...
Listen.
No, shameless plug. What is it? Shameless. But no, shameless plug or something right there, right, Steve? Okay, he said yeah. Okay. That's what it is. Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. But you guys can pick the Surrendering. You all can pick The Surrendering up on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. At The Surrendering by LaMonica Nolan, and it'll populate.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
You're welcome. All right. So, family, I hope that you enjoyed it, and we will see you on the next episode of Wine Therapy. Here are a few tips. Journal your feelings. Stay mindful through meditation and prayer. Join a support group and talk to a professional. Next time on Wine Therapy.
I never had therapy sessions, therapy classes. I've always been the one who says, okay, I can go to my pastor because scripture alone works for me.
And I looked up people to see which one I wanted to choose. Got to set up the appointment.